Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier leaving the movie theater. Just saw the Book of Clarence. Let's do a nice Mike's Instant movie review about it. Thursday night, big auditorium tonight. Big auditorium in the theater. And I actually saw a movie prior to this, sort of concert film, Freddie Mercury and Queen. Queen rocks Montreal. But let's talk about the movie I saw after that, which the timing worked out quite nicely for me to see Book of Clarence, or The Book of Clarence. So this is basically a fictional historical telling of a fictional would-be 13th prophet, or 13th, what are those guys called? The apostle? Is it apostle or apostle or apostle? They have a little fun with that in the movie. Basically, doubting Thomas's twin brother Clarence, who's kind of upset because Thomas has left him and their mother alone, their sickly mother. So this movie is interesting. Should you see it? Should you not? I don't know what to say. I don't know if I've seen a movie lately that I enjoyed and didn't enjoy simultaneously, and liked and didn't like at the same time. Interesting. But I think overall I enjoyed it. It's probably a movie worth seeing. It's definitely thought-provoking. Can I fully endorse this movie? I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I need to see it again. I don't know if I would. But I would say that I was captivated in some regard. I was curious. I was entertained. Are we not entertained? I think there's a flaw in this film that I would say is the mood. You know, you don't often think about the mood of a film, but this film just kind of felt like the mood was all over the place. At times it felt like a very serious philosophical or even spiritual experience movie, and at times it felt like Friday BC. Like sometimes the movie kind of degenerated into just comic foils, just like kind of dumb jokes. But for the most part, 90%, 95% of the movie, it was not like that. There was a little bit of romance. There was a dance number in the middle of the movie, and kind of like a Parliament G-Funk dance number, which kind of felt like, some of these Bollywood movies, the Indian films that I've been seeing in the last couple of years that I've kind of taken a break from. But the shtick with the Bollywood movies is that you're watching the movie regardless of it's a comedy, drama, whatever, and then suddenly there's a dance number in the middle of the movie. And this movie, The Book of Clarence, kind of had that, like just a random dance number, like a party scene. But of course, the people were not dancing I mean, how would we know how people danced, thousands of years ago? They kind of were dancing like 1970s dancing. So the movie, I guess you could say it didn't take itself too seriously, but at times it took itself very seriously. This character and the gentleman, the actor, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I feel like I've seen him. He wasn't the same guy in Get Out, but I feel like he's been in some of the Jordan movies, the Key and Peele, the guy, the Peele, the Jordan Peele, the horror films. I feel like this guy's been in some of those, but I couldn't recall as I'm watching the movie what movies I've seen him in. But he's been in a ton of stuff lately. And his name, I'm sorry, but I as soon as I saw his name on the movie, I was like, I couldn't remember it 2 seconds later. There are just certain folks that have names. For instance, the guy, another one that was in the fucking the movie where he's playing the rip-off Johnny. I can't think of any words tonight, folks. The Man in Black, Johnny Cash. there was a movie called Walk the Line, Dewey something. The actor, not C. Thomas Howell, C. Robbie Robertson, whatever the fuck. He was in Boogie Nights. The guy with the curly brown hair, he was in Step Brothers with Will Ferrell. See, Will Ferrell's an easy name to remember. This other asshole can never remember his... John C. Reilly. What the fuck kind of name is that? So then you have this guy who's like, you know, he's not John C. Reilly. He's another guy. His name is like Hayden. Just a weird name that I can't remember. Sorry. But he's obviously been in a lot of stuff. And here he is starring in this wonderful film that I don't know if it's so wonderful. I really just feel like the movie didn't fully commit at times. Like, is this movie a parody? Is it trying to be a parody a la Mel Brooks? Is it trying to be serious? Is it trying to be a wonderful hybrid? And I feel like it's trying to be a wonderful hybrid, but when you have scenes, spoiler, like crucifixion scenes and stuff like this, and when you're using religious themes, it's hard sometimes to mix hybrids and make everybody happy. And maybe the film's not trying to make everybody happy. But in any regard, like I said, it's a thought provoker. I've been provoked. But I don't know if I fully enjoy the movie or if I don't think I know I didn't fully dislike it. But it's very hard because it's kind of like, I want to like this movie, but then every once in a while, the mood gets shattered by the movie itself. It's just like, there's nobody in the theater tonight. There was a pretty good audience, but nobody, I'll be honest, I was in the back row. There happened to be like a couple, 3 or 4 seats away from me. The female of the couple seemed like a chatty Cathy based on her preview behavior. Just her voice kind of carried. And I could just tell that these people wanted to talk to each other all fucking night. Like, she was one of these women that has to talk during a movie to her man and tell him everything that he should be thinking about the film. And I just said, okay, I'm not going to suffer through this. So and then there was like a whole bunch of other people that came in the back row. And I'm like, I'm going to do a nice little maneuver where I kind of, go to the restroom. And then I come back. I'm like, you know what? I'll sit in the front row. So that way I don't offend anyone. I don't make them feel bad that they're yappy chatties. I just kind of, go to the restroom and never come back. What was that show? Was it Family Matters or some such thing? Or some show where the daughter went up the stairs and she never came back for the rest of the sitcom? So I'm kind of like that. Except I'm not related to these fine folks. I'm just a stranger who didn't want to hear them talk all goddamn night. So hopefully they're not offended, but who gives a shit if they are, to be quite honest, because they're the ones talking during the goddamn previews. And just setting a pattern of behavior that I thought would carry into the feature film. So I sat in the front row, like not the very front row, but the third row, which was basically the handicap row. So basically I'm sitting in the friend of the handicapped person seat, but there was no handicapped people there. So no offense, no harm, no foul. I had a very upright view of the whole goddamn experience, which might have added to my angst. So this movie's interesting. Some other flaws in the ointment, so to speak. There is, Clarence goes from being he's kind of rebuffed or rebuked as the 13th apostle, and he even gets Barabbas out of slavery because he beats him in a fight, which is kind of an interesting stipulation. Okay, if you want to free Barabbas, you got to beat him in a fight. But if you kill this guy, then you're still a slave. So what's Barabbas's motivation to win the fight? But then the guy says, the slave owner says, Barabbas, but if you take it easy on him, I'll kill you. Well, how are you supposed to determine if he took it easy on him? So it's just a flawed concept here of this stipulation match, okay? But Clarence gets his new big buddy, Barabbas. If Tiny Lister was still with us, he would have been a nice Barabbas, or, in fact, even Michael Clark Duncan, but he's no longer with us either, so gee whiz, sorry fellas. They weren't available, okay, for the movie because they were both deceased, unfortunately. So we move on, we move forth. I don't know. I guess Clarence's whole deal is that he's trying to one-up his twin brother, and his twin brother is Thomas, who I believe is the doubting Thomas of the whole affair in the Bible. And then we even have a shot back or a call out to the walking on water scenario later in the film. And surprise, the white guys are all the bad guys because they're all the Julius Caesar people, except one notable exception, and this is what kind of confused me. There is a character who I believe is supposed to be the real JC, the real Jesus, the real Jesus, the real Josiah, if you would. He's in this thing. He's actually doing real miracles, saving Mary Magdalene from a stoning, along with Clarence's buddy, who just kind of throws himself in the mix. But at the end of the film, and maybe this was one gimmick too many, they pull out the white Jesus card. Like, there's this beggar who's all suited up, and then he, like, gets some dimes in his hand. And I thought he was supposed to be, like, the white Jesus, like the stereotypical, J.J. Evans takes the painting down of the white Jesus or whatever the fuck. But I didn't understand if that was supposed to be the white Jesus or just a beggar man. But then that guy, who was a famous actor who I couldn't recall who the fuck he was either, he ends up getting crucified. So he's running around town doing the Buddy Christ. I felt, this is at the end of the movie, the white Jesus, and then the townspeople were all excited about him, and I thought this was a social commentary on how this image of the, Caucasian Christ has been shoved down everybody's throats. And, the townspeople are excited to see him. And then somehow he just gets thrown on the fucking crucifix. Yet we also have the other Jesus who, is black, basically. But that's not even our main guy here, which is Clarence. So, I mean, the whole thing is kind of like, well, you got Clarence, you got the real, what I thought was the real JC, and then you have the Buddy Christ, white Jesus, floating around. So I didn't understand if I was missing something. But I felt like, the movie was kind of throwing one too many things in there. Like, okay, here's 14 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag. We have to throw every goddamn thing in here to make some point or a bunch of points. And like I said, the mood, are we a comedy? At times it felt like it was a high-level comedy, meaning like some pretty, intense jokes here. There's a thing with Judas and the betrayal, and I had taken a facility break, and I came back in the middle of that. So, of course, when you see a movie like this, I think it's 2 hours and 8 minutes, they might want to have an intermission for people. You know what I mean? If they expect you to see every goddamn minute of this thing. But in any event, I don't know. Like I said, I felt like I was enjoying the movie and not enjoying the movie at the same time. I'm kind of sitting there thinking, I want to like this movie more. Maybe it's not for me. I mean, it could be part of it. But I feel like I always say, a movie should be for anyone that wants to go see it. You know what I mean? So I felt like, I didn't know. I just felt like, and I don't know if it, the crucifixion scene, I mean, that's not to say, it's just kind of an easy thing to do. Like, okay, well, crucify the character you've been hanging out with for 2 hours and 8 minutes. We'll crucify him. Then you're going to feel something. I mean, if you're not a total fucking asshole. So obviously you felt some sympathy for Clarence, and then, he's hanging out with the Buddy Christ on the cross. And it's weird because if the Buddy Christ is supposed to be the real Christ, he's like making these mean jokes about the people, and Clarence has to kind of pep him up a little bit. So it's like, well, I guess that's not the real Christ, because we still have the real Christ floating around in the next scene. With a little Lazarus shot out. So all these iconic religious things are kind of car crashing in this 2 hour and 8 minute experience. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this was supposed to make the cynical a believer or the believer a cynic or whatever the fuck. Maybe that's the wonderful thing of cinema. It's get out of it what you get out of it. And in this case, I got confused. Am I watching a parody of a religious film? Am I watching a religious film? Am I watching a high-end comedy? Am I watching a philosophical jaunt? Why is there a 1970s dance scene in the middle of this movie that's supposed to be of biblical times? Why am I wearing fingerless gloves in the middle of the night? All these queries and questions, and I really don't know. So I'm left... not with an empty feeling, but kind of like, it's okay. You know, not every movie has to hit every person full on in the fucking jaw, okay? It's okay that probably other folks in the auditorium and throughout the world are loving this movie or hating this movie. And I'm kind of like a 75% liked it, you know, but I mean, it didn't strike me that I'm totally revolted or I'm totally offended, and yet I'm not totally enthralled either. And it's like, sure, I could go see it again, but there's plenty of other fucking movies I want to see beyond this one, so I don't think I'll see it again. So I don't know. I feel confused by this film, okay? And that's not, I mean, look, if this was a French fucking film or something, you know, oui, monsieur, yes, the French and other Europeans like to make confusing films that but I don't know if this one was doing that. There was a few things that I noticed that also irked me. Within the first 10 minutes of the movie, the word literally had been used twice. And the first time was when Clarence is describing why he hates his twin brother so much. He says, he left us while our mother was literally on her deathbed. And I'm thinking, why the fuck did he just say the word literally there? And then there's a scene later where the two, Clarence, and he has like this little underbuddy, like his little sidekick guy. They went to see this guy that he owes money to, who kind of has like his own little strip club or something. And then he kind of like, you know, Jabba the Hutt with Leah, you know what I mean? And they're leaving, and like the bouncer guy says, "You guys got to go." And then the sidekick guy says, "We're literally walking out the door." It's like, okay, assholes, do we need the word literally in this goddamn film that's supposed to be taking place in biblical times? I don't think so, because I don't think assholes used the word literally back then, nor did they speak English for that matter. But beyond that, I just feel like this whole literally thing could literally go fuck itself, okay? Then, at the end of the film, I believe the Buddy Christ, you know, dying for our sins, or it was either Buddy Christ or Clarence himself used the word literally while on the cross. And I'm just, you know, come on, guys. It's just, it sounds very, 2024, and it's just horrible, okay? It's like, why don't you just take out a fucking iPhone and start texting each other while you're on the crosses dying, if you have to modernize things. Also, Barabbas, or whatever the fuck, he's like fighting for his life, and he calls one of these Julius Caesar guys motherfucker. Well, I don't think the term motherfucker was used in biblical times. You know, just a hunch. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to commit to this biblical times movie, then commit to it. But what I felt was they were kind of breaking the fourth wall, in a sense, or breaking character, or just breaking the mood of the film. And I believe that what they're trying to do is accomplish a lot of things at once. You know, and like I said, at times it felt like we're going into Friday territory, or we're going into Monty Python territory, or, you know, are we going into the Mel Brooks? But I didn't feel like it fully committed to any of that stuff either, because I feel like the movie wanted to make some big, powerful points about something, you know, either about a faith or lack of faith, or some type of questioning faith or questioning the lack of faith. I felt like it was trying to do something, but I wasn't sure what, or at least I wasn't sure of what it was trying to do. And yes, I know, assholes, I like movies and I create films myself, The Nature of the Flame, etc., Blood Sugar Sedace, you can watch on One Man in a Camera Films if you want to test my mettle as a fucking filmmaker. But I felt like the movie was trying to be this artsy thing, and yet it wasn't at the same time. And then it's like, you gotta have the hot chick, you got to have the love interest, you know, and she has to have the brother, you know, and so forth. So all these things, I don't know. I'm just kind of left with like not to say a what the fuck, but just kind of like, you know, what the fuck? You know, like, what is this? What did I see here? What did I just experience? And it wasn't so revolutionary or awesome or thought-provoking that I really feel like I need to go see it a million more times and write a college essay about it. I just feel like, okay, I'm walking away from this not quite knowing what I just went through. and not really thinking I want to see it again, because I'll probably see other movies instead. So that's it. I'm giving it, I don't know what the fuck, 3 stars to be nice, like it's well made. MikeMessier.com. Good night.